ACC basketball coming to WBBZ starting on the 3rd at noon. It's Pittsburgh at NC State. Great basketball right here, your exclusive home in Buffalo for ACC basketball. Well, in studio now, my good friend Vic Carucci is here from the Buffalo News, one of the top NFL writers in the country. And Vic, what a coincidence. You returned to Buffalo, and the fortunes of the Bills are on the rise. Do you think there's a coincidence there?
Not at all.
It's all you.
It was, of course. I'll take full,
and Cleveland, where
I'll
you
take
came
full
from.
credit. Now they're starting to bottom out. No, I thought after a while it was me who was holding back the Browns because they were taking off a little bit. No, anyway, it's been fun to be back for this, to say the least. But Bob, I'll say this: when you look at it through a broader lens, what this season and last season, I think you can see that this team's been playing some of its better football in a while. Now, is that saying a lot because they've been a very bad team for a long time? But it is saying something that I think in these last 2 years, particularly on the defensive side, that they've had a credible team. And I think this defense, which rose to the occasion in a big way against Green Bay, obviously is going to continue to be a driving force, not only for this season, but I think for years to come.
Specifically, as you said, defensively, they are really a power to reckon with right now. And really, it's remarkable that had their offense done anything against Denver, they could have upset the Broncos in Denver. Sunday, their offense didn't do much, but just enough points on the board when the defense turned in probably that had to be one of the best defensive performances considering the opposition that we've seen out of this unit in, what, 2 decades?
Oh, it had the bullying effect, I call it, with the defense. That's when you know you've risen to a level, and it harkens back to the days of the '85 Bears, of those 2000 Baltimore Ravens. Those teams not only had outstanding athletes and played well in terms of the structure of the defense, all the technical aspects, but they were also just bullies. I mean, they were physically better than most of the opponents, almost every offense that they faced. And that was true to a large part on Sunday. I think Green Bay self-destructed in many ways. Some of that could still be attributable to facing that defense, but some of it was maybe it was just a bad day for the Packers, but who knows and who really cares. The fact is that set a tone. But to your point about the offense, too, I was about to say, because I said it after the Denver game, that script so familiar that you've seen this team have strong defense. Defense keeps them in the game, and the offense does nothing, very little to help them out. That almost could have been the case on Sunday with an offense that doesn't produce a touchdown. And what do? They realize at halftime, the chances of trying to go toe-to-toe with the Packer offense on a day, that was the plan, realizing they didn't have to because the way their defense was playing, the way the Packers offense was playing, go to just a power game and grind it out and get 3 more field goals. And what was it, 4 field goals in a row puts the game away.
And they ate up some valuable time in their last possession, so they didn't give the ball right back and got some field position. Fred Jackson has stated on his show that he thinks their inability to run the ball is a bigger issue than even the passing game or the play of the quarterback, that because they're not able to run the ball as they had last year, teams can turn them into a one-dimensional unit, which is a huge problem for them.
Well, I fully agree with Fred, and he's being honest. Because he's part of the problem. He's not the runner he was before. He's given it all he's got, but he's still, I think, more of a shadow of the Fred Jackson that we've known. And without C.J. Spiller, the most talented back that they have available, I guess he'll be back for this game against the Raiders, but they're missing something there. And I think Anthony Dixon, Bryce Brown have been okay. The line is part of this problem too. But to the point that people make that, well, this is all about Kyle Orton or failure at the quarterback position being all the Bills' offensive problems, not at all. The running game or lack thereof is a huge part of it.
Okay, now let's talk about the head coach, because yesterday Doug Marrone does his usual Monday news conference, and he is just miserable. How miserable? Take a look. What we put together is just his answers to yesterday's questions.
We hope to have him back as limited on Wednesday. I don't. Because it doesn't matter if you don't take care of your own business. Same as I evaluate everyone on offense. Got to do a better job. Appreciate it. Busy. I think under the radar. I think he's, he's cleared, so looking forward to see how he practices during the week. Yes. I'd like to see more, his participation more before we make that decision. I haven't been here, for a decade, so I don't know. Yes. I think when Doug puts the paperwork in, and then there'll be an announcement. I mean, that's what you work for. I hope they do. I mean, I'm pretty sheltered from that.
Okay.
Thanks, all right, thanks.
Okay.
That is a news conference strictly because he stood behind the microphone and did respond to questions, but he didn't give us much there.
No, unfortunately, that's going to go right up there with, or down there with, some of the news conferences you've seen during this NFL season. The Bill Belichick, we're going to Cincinnati, we're going to Cincinnati, whatever. He'd answer almost every question. You asked him what time it was, he was going to tell you the Cincinnati game was next. And then Colin Kaepernick chose to have the very sparse responses before I think someone got to him, and I think it was probably people who handle like his marketing and stuff, and said, Colin, the people who are paying you for stuff off the field would maybe like you to come off a little warmer and fuzzier. Coaches can get away with being miserable, though, and Doug Marrone can do the miserable thing very, very well. I don't think it's an act. I mean, that's kind of how he is. He does wear his emotions pretty well on his sleeve. I think he's also a guy who strategically is harder to deal with after a win than a loss. You say that's the biggest win the Bills have had in forever, and you would think he'd be just joyous. He understands that that's the likely response to those around him, the players, maybe the rest of the coaching staff, the rest of the building, and he's there to be the reality check guy, to say, what have we accomplished? We've won 8 games. We still got to do a lot more. We're not in the playoffs yet. I mean, I think as much, I'm not trying to psychoanalyze. Maybe there's something else. Maybe he just had a bad breakfast or something, or a bad lunch. But beyond that, I think it's also to set that tone of we haven't done anything yet.
Okay, but you, with your vast knowledge and insight, there's nothing going on that you're aware of.
Not that I wouldn't read more into it to the effect of, did he hear something about his future or something definitive like that I know of? No, and I would think that this wouldn't even be the time that something like that would actually be discussed. Okay. So, and in my mind, a win like that and a season like this has done plenty to. It would now shock me if he doesn't continue and get a third year as a head coach.
I wrote on that great website, All Sports West New York, that I think his job has been cemented for next year. But
and that seals it.
What do I know?
If you wrote it.
They just gave me a television show. Hey, we're going to take a break. More with Vic right after this.